Breath of the Wild's environment never ceases to amaze me. The quiet, post-apocalyptic atmosphere the world provides gives the player a true sense of freedom while simultaneously giving us a feeling of dread and despair. Everywhere you look, you can see the ruins of Hyrule's structures near and far. One building I'd like to take a look at today is the Temple of Time. Unlike previous Zelda titles, the Temple of Time takes a minor role in this game's story. Rather than sending Link through time or acting as the location of a dungeon from years past, it instead acts as a location where Link can spend his spirit orbs in exchange for a heart or stamina increase. Since this is the Temple of Time though, have you ever wondered where the fabled Door of Time is? What about the Master Sword's pedestal it used to rest in? My name is Hylian Luke, and today I am accompanied by Twili Fairy. We are going to tell you about the possibility that the Temple of Time seen in Breath of the Wild is actually a completely different Temple of Time from the one seen in Ocarina of Time. As a disclaimer, this video does involve late game spoilers for Age of Calamity, involving the Temple of Time and the Great Plateau as a whole. With the warning out of the way, let's jump into the video. Since Breath of the Wild's release, many people, myself included, believed that the Great Plateau was where Hyrule Castle was located during the era of Ocarina of Time, due to the Temple of Time's location. In Ocarina of Time, the Temple of Time was located next to Hyrule Castle and connected to Hyrule Castle Town. Logically, it would make sense that the old castle's ruins would be near the temple during Breath of the Wild's time, wouldn't it? Well, this doesn't seem to be the case. If we visit the Great Plateau in Age of Calamity, we can see that actually the Great Plateau was covered in decorative stone floors, grand staircases, banners and flags for the Kingdom of Hyrule, and of course, sanctums and places of worship for the golden goddesses of old, as well as the goddess Hylia. Within the Temple of Time, we are familiar with the grand red carpet down the center aisle of the temple. What's new, however, is the rows of seats for citizens of Hyrule to sit in, likely for services of prayer and worship at the temple, followed by a priest of some sort. Additionally, the statue of Hylia standing tall and proud in the back of the temple is all too familiar, as we obviously saw in Breath of the Wild. The Hylia statue was not present in the Temple of Time during the era of Ocarina of Time though, as instead, the temple had the Door of Time in the back, blocking the entrance to the Master Sword, and by extension, blocking the entrance to the Sacred Realm.
Now, you could possibly argue still that this location actually was the home of Hyrule Castle. After all, the time difference between Ocarina of Time and Breath of the Wild is well over thousands upon thousands of years. Heck, in between Ocarina of Time and Breath of the Wild is the first strike from Calamity Ganon, along with the first 4 champions who controlled the Divine Beasts, which took place 10,000 years before Breath of the Wild's story taking place. It is very possible, truth be told, that the temple we see in Breath of the Wild is not the same temple as the one in Ocarina of Time. It is very possible that the Temple of Time in Breath of the Wild simply inherited the old temple's name from eons ago. I say this because the Temple of Time in Ocarina of Time inherited the name from the Temple of Time in Skyward Sword. In Skyward Sword, there is a location called the Temple of Time in the Lanayru region, and it is home to one of the 2 Gates of Time. When the Gate of Time is destroyed by Impa in order to get away from Girahim, the temple's importance becomes obsolete. It becomes nothing more than a structure that is connected to the forgotten Lanayru mining facility. So, now we can see that something such as recreating temples within the world and series of Zelda, it becomes much more believable that such a thing would happen.
Lastly, I want to talk about why the Temple of Time received a redesign throughout the years. Honestly, I want there to be a rather long explanation for it with lots of lore backing it up. But I feel the only reason the Temple of Time was renovated into a new kind of building is because just as the original Temple of Time did, it lost its importance. The Door of Time no longer needed to be in place to protect the Master Sword because it wasn't located in the Temple of Time anymore. Instead, the Master Sword rests at the foot of the Deku Tree within Korok Forest.
A statue of her grace, the goddess Hylia, was created instead within the Temple of Time, so the people of Hyrule could have a location to pray and to worship her, as we mentioned earlier at the start of the video. The fact that Hylia is represented in the Temple of Time, however, does make me feel as though Hylia herself is also the fabled goddess of time, mentioned by Tattle in Majora's Mask. That, however, will be covered later on in the future.
Well, those are a few of my initial thoughts on this matter. What are your thoughts about the connections between the various temples of time throughout the ages of Zelda? Let me know in the comments. Huge shout out to Twili Fairy for joining me on this one. Twili Fairy is a great Zelda content creator who is very underrated, so please go check out her channel and drop a sub her way. While you're at it, if you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe to my channel as well, and click that bell notification to be alerted on all upcoming uploads in the future. You can check out my socials in the description, and if you'd like to support the channel, please consider checking out my Patreon. That's all for now, so once again, my name is Hylian Luke, and I will see you all next time. Ciao!